is time for my next Math 229 tutorial. This one is on section 4.2, looking at reflections and amplitude changes for sine and cosine. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this y equals negative sine x. All right, in the last video, as you saw or as we went over, if you have a coefficient, that coefficient changes the amplitude. Well, if you have a negative, the negative reflects it about the x-axis. So what that means is in the last video, it went 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0 were our cut points. Well, now that we have a reflection, what that's going to do is all the positive ones are going to change to negative 1, and all the negative ones are going to change to positive 1. So it's going to essentially turn our graph upside down. So as we did last time, I'm going to eyeball where pi halves would be. Do that same distance for pi, 3 pi halves, and 2 pi. Have a height of 1, negative 1, and I'm going to go 0, but before I would have gone up 1, I'm going to go down 1. Back to 0, up 1, back to 0. So now it turns my graph upside down. Okay. By the way, the domain, the range, the period, none of that changed. It just flipped it upside down. All right, we're going to repeat that for negative cosine x. Again, if that negative is there, it means that you're going to have a reflection about the x-axis. So on the previous video, our standard cosine graph looked like this for our cut points. Okay, starting at 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. Since I have a negative, it's going to flip all these positives to negative and negatives to positives. Meaning that when I come down here now and graph it, there we go. Okay. I'm going to start off, instead of going positive, I'm going to start off with negative. So it's going to go negative, 0, positive, 0, negative. Connecting those dots, I get the upside down cosine graph. All right, we can also do a amplitude change at the same time as I flip it. So if I have a negative 3, it's two things. This negative means that I'm going to flip it upside down. The 3 means that instead of a 1, the 1s are going to turn into 3s. So when I go to create my graph, and sometimes students can get frustrated because they think, well, Jen, why are you starting with 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0? It's always my baseline, so that's what I like to do first. Now, what I'm going to do is every one's going to turn into a 3, and every positive is going to turn into a negative. So this is going to turn into a negative 3, and this is going to turn into a positive 3. So I'm both stretching it vertically as well as flipping it upside down. All right, when I go to graph this, cut every pi halves. Okay. Now I have a height of 3. Oh. All right, we'll just kind of eyeball it. It probably should be more drastic than that, but that's okay. We're just getting a feel for it. Okay, so I'm going to go, instead of 0, 3, I'm going to go 0, negative 3, so I could turn it upside down. So 0, negative 3, 0, 3, 0. Boom. There it is. Okay. Now I'm going to do, again, another amplitude change along with a reflection. This time it's going to compress it. It's going to be shorter. It's only going to be a quarter tall. So again, for cosine, I start with 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. This is my baseline. This is what the graph always looks like before we tweak it. All right, so how I'm going to tweak it is all these 1s are going to turn into a 4th, and the negative is going to flip it. So all the positives will be negative. So this will be a negative 1/4. This will be a positive 1/4, and this will be a negative 1/4. Okay, let's see. Pi halves, pi, 3 pi halves, 2 pi. Now, a 4th is going to be little. It's going to be hard to get it exact, so we're just going to eyeball little. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Remember, I'm starting at a negative 1/4, then 0, then positive 1/4. So let's try it. Negative 1/4, 0, 1/4, 0, negative. It's kind of hard to see. All right, there's my graph. Okay, the next video will be about period changes, so be on the lookout for it. All right, good luck, guys.